Again, thank you to everybody. This means so much to us. And I want to begin today by, you know the topic really well. There is an impasse, there is a strain, there is no communication between the Muslims and the Jewish communities, not only in the United States, but all across the world. So I want to begin. Did you know that in December of 1999, 20 Jewish and Muslim leaders put their signatures on a document they hoped will bring their two communities together? This document was signed right here where I am today in Los Angeles at the City Hall. And they called it the Code of Ethics. It provided that Jewish, Muslim leaders will meet regularly to talk over important issues and to immediately and publicly repudiate any group or institution that appeals to prejudice, stereotyping, hate, and violence. However, sadly, that agreement had deep fractures and did not survive. Leaders of the area's largest Jewish organizations had already said they don't plan to participate because they assert the Muslim leaders involved have failed to condemn past terrorist killings. So since then, many attempts have taken place, and I'm a full participant of interfaith partnerships that happened in Los Angeles after 2007. I have to briefly update you as to who I am. My name is Soraya Dean. I founded the Muslim Women Speakers Movement, a movement where we women particularly come together to address issues of violence, anti-Semitism, hate, extremism, gender equality, and all of that. So in 2007, my son was only 7 years old. I had gone to pick him up from his school, after school of course, and that day my little son came running up to me and he asked me, "Mommy, are we terrorists?" And that broke my heart. That was a defining moment in my life. I abandoned my work as a lawyer and I took up to social justice advocacy and really fighting for my community, the Muslims. Of the many things I did, I still remember sometime thereafter, I went to Oregon and I drove 1,000 miles and met over 1,000 people. And when I left, they said, "Here is Soraya, a true Muslim American." So that was a defining moment in my life where I thought more Muslim women should come up and speak up for the fractured world we live in. And then after my son was bullied, I knew I had to do something. As all of us know today, we have to do something. We can't anymore wait for governments and agreements and organizations to tackle this. So I wrote a list of interfaith organizations in Los Angeles. I went to each one of them and I built strong relationships with the Jewish people in Los Angeles. Later, my work culminated in my Jewish friend Masha Novak and I building one of the strongest, even to this date, interfaith solidarity networks in the San Fernando Valley. And I remember particularly as a Muslim, I was in the valley trying to get to the peak. And what we are doing today is together to get to the peak. So we had these facile, I think not so deep conversations, and then October 7th happened. And it revealed how facile the relationships were. Because there were deep hostilities between the Jews and the Muslims. And the Muslim world, what I found aghast was the Muslim world's inability to condemn October 7th and call for the release of the hostages. This is very critical. If those two had happened, we wouldn't be in this war today. So today, what we have instead is outrage, not outreach. Today, Muslims, we refuse to fight for each other. Instead, we are fighting against each other. And this really dawned on me when Paul Kessler was murdered half an hour from where I live for carrying an Israeli flag. I reached out to all the Muslims in my community to condemn it, but nobody did. And later, in my strong pursuit, I was told that one imam in that area in Thousand Oaks had condemned it. And I was very happy to hear that. Just imagine the little we are clinging to today. So what happened then what we are seeing is synagogues are beefing up security, bigotry towards Muslims are rising. And then for me, there was no turning back, because when I went to the mosque with my rabbi friend, I didn't like what I heard being told about the Jewish people. So today, this brings us to this day today where we are trying to amend strained and standstill relationships. Because I firmly believe the next step in our evolution is not revolution, it is relationship. So before I proceed, we are here today, 4 great panelists. We want to unpack this impasse. We want to diagnose a little bit the root causes, and we want to find some solutions. And we don't know everything, because I look at this problem through my lens of community organizing. So I encourage you to look at it the way you can, but let's come together and let's look for solutions. So with us today is Michelle Hadout, Director of Programming and Strategy at End Jew Hatred. Michelle Hadout is an Iranian Jewish feminist on both sides. Her parents were born in Iran. Her husband was born in Iran, but she grew up in America knowing exactly why her family had to flee. And she says that radical ideology that started on college campuses crept into mainstream culture and eventually swallowed the country wholly. And she watched it happen to her family's homeland. So she recognizes the patterns now. And with us also is Mustafa Ezergani. He's a Moroccan Arab, a Muslim writer, peace advocate, and emerging photographer whose work stands at the intersection of identity, conscience, and dialogue. Born and raised in Marrakesh, a defining pillar of Mustafa's work is his principled stand against anti-Semitism. He has devoted significant intellectual and activist effort to confront anti-Semitic narratives within the Muslim world and abroad, advocating for ethical clarity, historical responsibility, and genuine peace. And his peace advocacy is grounded on courage to speak across boundaries. And also is Rabbi Daniel Levin, is a senior Jewish educator for the Orange County Hillel, a lecturer in political science at UC Irvine, and the host of the Rabbi Daniel Levin channel on YouTube, where he discusses religion, politics, and history relevant to the wider Jewish community. And thank you, Rabbi. I've been on your show, and it meant so much to me. And also is here with us our next panelist, Alia, a fellow South Asian American, a journalist, a media person, talk show host, influencer, interfaith human rights advocate, and co-founder and president of Project SAVE, S-A-V-E. In the first round, we're going to just find out who we are and why we come to this space. Then I'm going to ask some assigned questions, and then some counter questions. And if there's time, we will open it up to the audience, to the participants. But if you have any questions, please feel free to post it on the chat. And with me also is my dear youth leader from Nigeria, who wakes up every day with a renewed hope. And you know what we see in Nigeria is not easy. And Dofa, show your face and say hello to everyone. He's a youth leader who's starting a green movement in Nigeria. Thank you, Dofa, for your support and for always showing up for my work and our work. Yes, thank you. So, Mustafa, this first question is to you. Morocco signed the Abraham Accords in 2020. Today, it is deeply rooted in connection and celebrates Israel and Morocco together. And Arab leaders from Morocco are memorialized with public parks and monuments in Israel. And Morocco also hosts rehabilitated Jewish heritage sites and remains a key partner in regional diplomacy. I'm wondering what goes through your mind when you see the Arab nations are coming together, but we see so much brokenness here and impasse.
Well, thank you again, Soraya. I believe that my country, Morocco, is in the process, in the last decade, is in the process of reclaiming our real identity. Because I personally believe that my Moroccan identity was hijacked at a certain point. I'll give you an example. I am someone who grew up listening in the 90s, listening to beautiful stories about Moroccan Jews, Moroccan Jewish families who used to live in Marrakesh and Fez and Tangier and Casablanca. We heard those stories from our parents and our grandparents. We heard that the Jews were trustworthy, that they were nice people, that they were contributors to the Moroccan society, that they have their fingerprint is on everything beautiful in Morocco, in our music, in our kitchen, in our fashion, in our politics, in our diplomacy. So this is what we grew up hearing. But in the mid-90s, there was a change in Morocco. And that change was that more and more people start having access to satellite dishes, which means that we start having access to Middle Eastern media. So we start watching Al Jazeera and channels that are aligning with Al Jazeera narrative. We start hearing a different story. They start picturing a different reality for us. So I believe that my generation and the generations that comes after, they lost their Moroccan identity, they lost their Moroccan memory to a new narrative that was very strong, very persistent, accompanied by well-edited images and videos of what's going on between in Israel. So all what we grew up watching on TV is that Israelis are evils, Jews are evils. Look what they are doing. I have never seen an Israeli beside the military actions or the military, the IDF videos on Al Jazeera. Of course, most Moroccans don't speak a second language, so we weren't interested in watching different channels. So I grew up watching hours and hours, hundreds of hours of Al Jazeera. I fell in love with their narrative. I grew up hating the Jews. Regardless, despite the beautiful stories that I grew up learning or I grew up hearing, Al Jazeera narrative won. It won because it was persistence, it was daily, it was accompanied by horrific videos. Even my religion, Islam, the Islam that I grew up learning from my parents doesn't allow something like October 7th. It's an Islam of values and principles. But again, we start importing a different version of Islam, which is Wahhabism, which originated in the Middle East and spread all over North Africa and the world after. That's extremism. The Muslim Brotherhood's channels reached out to Morocco and to the youth of Morocco. And we lost our identity, I would say, and we lost our relationship with our brothers and sisters from the Jewish faith. After the Abraham Accord, people are starting to see a different version of the story. For the first time, young individuals are able to travel to Israel and to meet Israelis and to experience that firsthand and come back home and start YouTube channels and speak on social media about your experiences in Israel. They're starting to discover the truth. They start to discover that Israelis don't want anything besides living in peace. They're just like humans, just like us, with dreams and ambitions, and they are also terrified for their security and for the future of their kids. They are tired. They also discovered that the story of the Jewish people that we have been learning is manufactured very carefully before it was presented to us. What we learned on TV is that the Jews, or the Jewish relationship to the homeland, to the Holy Land, started in 1948. This is a common knowledge. When they had access to, when you were able to meet Jews and to learn from them and to learn their perspective. How do you see Israel? How do you see Jerusalem? Why are they there? Why did they left France, Europe, America, Canada, Latin America? Why did they left all these places and went back to Israel? When they discovered that the Jews have been praying for that return for thousands of years, they were surprised. So it's more than just the signature of an accord. It's the truth being uncovered or being discovered.
Thank you.
And that gives me a lot of hope. Like right now, I would say every month I'm hearing about a group of individuals or of young individuals going to Israel from Morocco. And I'm in touch with a lot of them, and they told me about their experience and how their point of view changed, not just of Israel, but what's happening in the Middle East and the history of the conflict there. So I'm very hopeful.
Thank you, Mustafa. There's so much to discuss with you, but I'll go to the next panelist, Rabbi Daniel. The University of California, Irvine, UCI, has been a focal point for intense tensions surrounding anti-Semitism and Jewish-Muslim relations for over 2 decades. We know this. So how are your students doing, and how are you coping, and what education are you bringing to discern between Judaism and Zionism on your campus?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you so much. And I just want to say for everybody here, Soraya drove down 2 hours in Southern California rush hour traffic to be on my podcast right after October 7th. So thank you so much. And you were one of the very few people in the Islamic community that was willing to have any conversation. I had actually no idea what our conversation would be, but it was really incredible and speaks to the work that you're doing. UCI has long been on the radar as, I think, one of the crazier campuses. I don't think UCI has gotten better. I just think other campuses in the country have gotten worse. And now we've sort of, I think, equalized over the last few years. I think there's a couple of different things, and I've actually switched a lot of my philosophy on education when I'm talking to Jewish students or non-Jewish students, and I can kind of paint both those pictures. The reality is there's just not a lot of knowledge, both in the Jewish and non-Jewish community, about Jewish history, definitions of Judaism, where does Israel fit in, where does Zionism fit in. I'm extremely pleased that Mustafa said that Jews returned to Israel as opposed to showed up to Israel, because I think that really is one of the cornerstones of unpacking this entire thing. Judaism in the last 200 years, and I'm primarily now talking about Ashkenazi Judaism, so European Judaism, underwent changes after changes and reformations, and this was mostly a reaction to both the Enlightenment and waves of nationalism and a type of secularism that attempted to put Judaism in a very particular box and define it. So many people here have probably heard the idea, Judaism is a religion, right? A religion does not need to have claims to a land, right? A religion is a set of ideas, a set of beliefs I can pray the same way in Los Angeles and New York, the same way that I can pray in Israel, right? So what's the difference? What's this connection between Judaism and Israel? It turns out that when we unpack Jewish history and, the real nature of Jewishness, the idea of religion is only about 200 or 300 years old. It comes from Western European Protestant scholars that attempted to define something as a private experience that would be separate from a secular public sphere of neutrality, right? Liberalism. But Judaism in its classical form was in some way what we might call a mixture of a peoplehood, a indigenous people that were connected to a land, and also a religion, right? It contained elements of all this, and it's actually impossible to neatly tease out different parts of this, right? Different Jewish movements have actually tried this over the last couple hundred years, but it's not as simple as saying, well, I'll take Judaism, but I'll put Israel on the side. Because again, as Mustafa alluded to before, if you open up the Jewish prayer book, right, prayers of return to Israel, it's not just, once or twice. It's every single page, right? In the traditional Jewish community, you eat a meal, you have some bread, you're supposed to say a prayer after you eat bread, and all of a sudden you get other prayers about sticking to Israel, right? You open up the prayer books for different Jewish holidays, the Passover Haggadah, the breaking of the glass after a Jewish wedding, right? The list goes on and on. We'll be here for the entire day if I lay out all the examples, right? Jewish tradition teaches about return to the land of Israel. So Zionism is very much a part and parcel and thread of this ancient tradition of Judaism that really has consisted of a people longing to return to a land after thousands of years. Now, there is a little bit of complexity here, right? I don't have enough time to, talk for 4 hours, so I'll just paint a little bit of a complex picture, and then we can maybe return to this in the question and answer if people want. The difficulty becomes that because of historic circumstances of anti-Semitism in Europe in the late 1800s, it was mostly secular Jews who were the founders of what we call today political Zionism. Now, in the 100 years since, now the majority of Israel is actually not Ashkenazi Jews. They're Jews from the wider Arab world, right? Historically, they were called Sephardic Jews. Today, oftentimes are called Mizrahi Jews, right? Depending on if you're talking about a religious or political perspective. But that's where a little bit of the complexity comes from, that it actually took secular Jews to start this nationalist movement to reclaim the Jewish homeland. But to argue, as I've seen many on campus do, that Zionism is one thing and Judaism is the other, and you can say, well, I'm not being anti-Jewish in any way, I'm just being anti-Israel or anti-Zionist, right? It's almost impossible to do that neatly, and those on campus don't even try to do it neatly at all. And so much of, I think, the anti-Semitism that we're seeing on campus, and I think the first step to fighting anti-Semitism is clearing up a erasure of Judaism that is based on saying that Jews have no connection to Israel, and that, Jews only want Israel because of, and then you can insert conspiracy theory here, right? They're trying to continue colonialism. They're trying to enrich themselves. They're trying to, if you get more on the far left or on the far right, it's because they're trying to control geopolitics or whatever conspiracy theory you have there. And so I really think that the goal on campus, again, is to clear up this misunderstanding that attempts to erase Jewish history by erasing any connection between Judaism and the land of Israel.
So Rabbi Daniel, have you or have the Jewish people created such opportunities to have that conversation with the others?
Listen, we try all the time. I think, sadly, the relations between the Jewish students and Islamic community on campus has essentially been non-existent in the last couple of years. Even when I was an undergrad, at UCLA, this is 10 years ago, I was very involved in interfaith initiatives, and even then it was a little bit, it was quite strained every time the topic of Israel-Palestine came up. And so I won't say that it's easy. I think the other problem, when we're talking about campus, is that there is a type of far-left ideology that has entered into the university. This goes back far before October 7th, that I think gives a permission structure to many of the young Islamic students that are coming onto campus to think about Judaism in a certain way. And so the vast majority, this is sad and hopefully this will be fixed, but the vast majority of courses that you might enroll in the humanities department at any university, I'm not just talking about UC Irvine, when they talk about Judaism and Zionism, they're going to do it through a far left-wing type perspective that, again, in my opinion, it's rooted in much of the anti-Semitism that came out of the Soviet Union. If we look at the Soviet Union in the 1970s and 80s, it took a virulent anti-Semitic turn. That's when they went to the UN and claimed that Zionism is racism. Many of the claims that one hears about Israel today, you can easily read, Soviet anti-Semitic propaganda books from the 1970s and sort of see the claims in parallel, right? The idea that Israel is apartheid and committing genocide. These were all claims far, far before Gaza and October 7th. These were even claims that started before 1967, right? This goes back, very far. This has nothing to do with where exactly the borders are, right? The Green Line and West Bank, right? This started in 1948, right? This idea that Israel is somehow an occupying colonialist force, right? And so the problem is a lot of this is coming from the top in certain academic fields. And so, students are hungry for conversation. I think that there's a reason why, the vast majority of young people are getting their information off of social media or podcasts, right? I'm not saying it's good or bad, right? That has its own problems as well. But the problem is I think that a lot of campuses sort of push this ideology on students as well, so that if you're a liberal student, let's say you're not Jewish or Muslim, you just come into campus, you're 18 years old, you know very little about geopolitics, and you're, like most students, you're fairly liberal, right? You don't really have a precisely defined ideology. It's very easy to see how that person would be pushed to the quote-unquote staunch anti-Israel side, because that is oftentimes where the current of campus is taking them.
Right. Thank you so much. I see the problem is persisting. That's why in the American Muslim leadership today, we have an organization run by Sheikh Musa Drame in New York. We openly call it Muslim-Israel Dialogue, because Israel has been left out of this conversation and we are paying severely for that. So I just want you to know, perhaps we will be able to flourish and take that message forward abundantly. So that my next question goes to Michelle. Michelle, the End Jew Hatred movement bases its civil rights advocacy on finding that an 893% surge in anti-Semitic incidents have happened over the past decade. Jewish students on college campuses are subject to systemic intimidation, and you say that it is a civil rights struggle of our time, and I think so too. Can you talk to that, please? And what is the work that you're doing at End Jew Hatred to address?
Of course. So exactly. So our work really is rooted in exactly what you just said. End Jew Hatred is a minority civil rights movement. So, what our mission is really to move that needle against Jew hatred with allies, using social pressure, getting students on college campuses to be End Jew Hatred fellows, Jewish and non-Jewish students. We encourage everybody to be both a fellow and an activist in the movement, because this is not at all just a Jews for Jews fight. This is a fight for moral clarity. And, I feel like a broken record. I always say this. For anyone that hasn't heard me say this, though, it's not a Democrat-Republican fight. And it is certainly no different than just as the Jews walked side by side so many minority civil rights movements in the past. Right now, with what's occurring, it's our time to really have people walk with us as we still walk alongside everybody else. So that's a little bit about the End Jew Hatred movement, both through social pressure on the ground, through rallies, protests, amazing digital activism campaigns, both our End Jew Hatred writers, and there's a fabulous group called Pens for Swords. We have joint writers that they are doing incredible work also, and we amplify them, because really moving that needle and ensuring that everyone can be an activist regardless of religion, race, just wanting to do the right thing and standing alongside ourselves is a beautiful thing. So that's the End Jew Hatred movement. But I do think you all touched upon, the concept of allyship. And just yesterday, we actually had a talk with a few high school and college students regarding allyship. So the timing couldn't have been better for this call. I think we have to really get down to the crux of how, what is success in allyship as opposed to, failure in allyship. And first talking about success, which is so hard, specifically post 10/7 with tension so high, I think the key really is showing up for each other without conditions. So what do I mean there? I mean, when Muslim leaders condemn Jew hatred, which obviously includes anti-Zionism, but Jew hatred rhetoric clearly and unequivocally, without but so-and-so. You have to compartmentalize what Jew hatred is, what it can do to people and what it can lead to. And they, as you know, when Muslim leaders condemn that, the same way Jewish leaders need to acknowledge the pain and grief felt by Muslims and make it clear that Muslims should not be treated any differently in America because of what's happening overseas, Jews and Muslims alike. So finding that common ground somehow, some way, and really realizing that this is a joint fight against, you know, a threat to Western ideology, you know, the threat of Islamism that, you know, really is a threat to all of us. I think finding the common ground is how we can really form those allyships. And I think the failure, which I think we've been seeing a lot, is when one side or the other refuses to acknowledge the other's pain and grief. You know, turning a disagreement over policies, over, you know, politics into a disagreement over the right of the other to exist. So I think there's a lot to unpack. That's why I was so thrilled, Soraya, you know, your work, and I'm so happy our paths crossed a couple of years ago. You know, everyone on here must know that Soraya is a force. She, you know, spoke at a USC panel that we put together, you know, alongside a former council member, and someone from our team, and it was fabulous. But I think that's where things start, is really forming those allyships, partnerships, both starting at events, but then transcending more than just showing up to events, but really being rooted in that commonality and that common goal for the same finish line of ending hatred for all.
Thank you, Michelle. I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot, but in the recent past, I saw what happened to State Senator Scott Wiener, the harassment. Would you talk about that a minute to say, is that the epitome of Jew hatred in America?
Well, listen, I think it's a very interesting situation, and that really is the epitome of Jew hatred, because Scott Wiener has expressed very, very much anti-Zionist views, has expressed views that I vehemently disagree with and think that are, you know, not based off of facts in terms of claiming that Israel is committing genocide. And I almost find it, I mean, I don't want to use the word comical, but it's a perfect example that the Jew hatred and Jew haters aren't going to say, hey, you said that Israel's committing a genocide, so come, you're our friend, come to our side. We saw what happened to him was an exact, you know, picture of what the Jew haters are after. They are after Jews, full stop. So, you know, anyone that thinks that they'll be safe from the hatred if they either are, you know, brainwashed or whatever you want to call it and claim that there's a genocide going on or claim that there's apartheid going on. End of the day, nobody is going to be safe from the civil rights infringement and, you know, just horrific Jew hatred from the other side. And when I say the other side, not just the other side, you know, it's not just religion-based or race-based, it's the other side that are pro-terror, true Jew haters that pose a severe threat to our ideology and Western civilization.
Michelle, I don't know, thank you. I don't know whether you heard me refer to the code of ethics that was drawn between the Muslims and Jews in Los Angeles, that fractured.
I did not. No.
Yes, there was one in 1999. So we must, I mean, for me, when I see what happened to Scott, it's like my brother. I'm not interested in anything, what his politics was, what he did, what he didn't do. Am I going to just sit quiet if my brother was harassed and intimidated? So that springs me to action. And in 1991, when I opened with that particular observation, we had a code of ethics where Jews and Muslims came together, they agreed. But then the ethics, the code fractured, the agreement is no more. So,
when did that fracture? That's very interesting to me. I actually didn't know about that. So what caused the fracture? Or was there an impetus? Did something specifically cause that? Sure.
Because the top Jewish leaders refused to sign it.
Wow.
The Muslims were not condemning terrorism. And that there's so much truth to that. We are not condemning terrorism, you know.
Exactly.
But we need to revisit. And for people like you and me and for all of us here, we are activists, right? Small victories make a huge difference.
You said it, Soraya. So that's, because to me, the you know, is trust still possible between everybody? Absolutely. But the way to make that happen is through conduct. It's showing up. Posting things is great. We know what social media does, but showing up, speaking the truth, being consistent, rejecting hate against, you know, both communities without precondition. That's what will move the needle. Soraya, the same way you show up, the same way we had a couple of weeks ago outside, for anyone not familiar with this situation, but in Brooklyn, in Park Slope, a food co-op passed a BDS resolution boycotting Israeli goods. So we're seeing BDS in action. BDS is racism. Period. We held a protest outside there, and I believe it was about 10 speakers we had, 7 or 8 of them were not Jewish. God bless Mustafa. Mustafa flew in. He literally got on a flight and flew in to speak at this protest alongside many other allies, because we are all fighting this same fight. And that's really what this is all about. That's showing up and really, I think seeing allyship in action, and that's what can spur, just a brighter future ahead for this allyship that we're hoping to form.
Yes. And thank you. And before I get to Alia, she and I are South Asian Muslims. 60% of world Muslims are in South and Southeast Asia. I think we have, by default, let the Arab narrative prevail. We need new, fresh narratives. I come from a country where the tea plant, Sri Lanka, the first tea plant was brought to Sri Lanka by a Jewish person. Yes. So, we were not brought up to hate, but of course now it has changed tremendously. So on that note, I want to go to Alia, who is a Pakistani American Muslim, and Alia is, since lately, Pakistan leadership, including Prime Minister Sharif and Army Chief Asim Munir, they have led intense multi-stage mediation efforts in the Middle East. Has the pulse of your people in Pakistan, has it shifted? Is it shifting? What do you see?
Hi, so, first of all, thank you so much, Soraya, for having me here. This is a great chance to explain too many things. I am a journalist from 2 decades, and I do podcast and shows. I used to do TV in Pakistan. Now I have 2 YouTube channels where I speak on critical questions, critical issues, geopolitics, India-Pakistan relations, Abraham Accords, Abraham religions, Israel and Hamas, Israel and Iran, America and Iran, all this stuff. As you talk about recent development in mediation, Pakistan is a key player as a mediator, but Qatar is also doing mediation with Pakistan. So I think Pakistan is doing as a broker, because Pakistan is doing mediation, but not in a status where Pakistan can dictate America. Pakistan cannot dictate America. Pakistan can dictate Israel. Pakistan can dictate Iran too. But Pakistan only playing as we are neighbor of Iran. So as a Muslim Ummah, brotherhood. So we can do this, we can talk to Iran. So that was going well, I think. But the main point is that they did not include Israel. Why not? Because Israel is main stakeholder in this crisis, in this issue. But Israel was not part of that mediation. And I written on this, I spoke about this, that you are doing this, but where is Israel? Obviously, if you left out one stakeholder, one main stakeholder, then how can you bring peace in the region, in this world? So I think that was bad part of that deal, and that's why we are seeing that even after all stakeholders except Israel, they signed that deal, but even then, war is going on.
How are the Pakistanis? Are they like mellowed now, and are they talking about normalizing relationships with Israel?
When you talk about Pakistanis, then in Pakistan, generations of Pakistani children, Pakistani students have been taught to view Israel as an enemy. And this ideology is very deeply rooted in the country's public education, in curriculum, in textbooks. Yeah, exactly. That Israel is enemy. Christians are enemy, and Judaism is enemy. They are against us. We cannot have friendship with them. Hinduism, too many material in textbooks, in curriculum of schools, madrasas, in colleges, in universities, against Hindus, against Christians, against Judaism, against Jews. So this is the basic main problem. So generations who are brought up on this feed, on this food. So how can you think that the people of Pakistan, they will say, okay, no, Iran is wrong or Israel is right, or they cannot decide actually because they are brainwashed.
Right.
I was brainwashed in my school time because they were teaching me that I told you everything, right? So I think in Pakistan, people are very happy that Iran is winning, Iran is victorious. Look what is happening, because as you know that there are religious leaders like Maulana Fazlur Rahman and too many religious parties in Pakistan. Islamist rule Pakistan, if I say, I mean not in parliament but in ideology. So they invited Ismail Hania there. Yeah, exactly. And there were speeches in favor of Iran. So if you talk about Pakistani public, their thinking is on such lines which I told you about.
Okay, thank you, Alia. So I'm going to go to Mustafa quickly. Mustafa, let's talk about the United States now. Do we have a leadership in the Muslim world? And why have we succeeded or have we failed in addressing Jewish-Muslim relationship and the rise of anti-Semitism? Do we even have a leadership?
Are we talking about here in the United States?
Yes, in the United States particularly.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't see any difference between what's going on among the Muslim or most of the Muslim communities here in the United States and what's going on in Saudi Arabia or Qatar or other Arab Muslim country. The most of mosques and communities here in the United States are still holding on to the same ideology, to the same speech, to the same, because here's the thing. I take that back. From my experience trying to reach out to the Muslim community here in the United States and get them to open a conversation about Israel and about the Jews and maybe reach out to the Jewish communities here in the United States, I found that it's harder to have that conversations with Muslims here in the United States than having the same conversation with Muslims in the Middle East. And I will tell you why. Because during our conflict with Israel since the 40s, we worked really hard and we put our effort as Arabs, as Muslims, to make Israel the center, or our animosity to Israel as the center of our Arab nationalism. And then later on, we doubled up and we put it as the center of our religious identity. It's not just a conflict. This is not just like a conflict like our conflict between Morocco, Algeria, or between France and Spain. No. This is more than just a political conflict. We were able in the last 8 decades to turn Israel to the center of our attention, the center of our unity. The Arabs haven't been united for a common economical project or cultural renaissance or social justice project. No, you were united for one reason and one reason only, which is destroying Israel. And we ended up destroying a lot of our countries, a lot of our youth who are unemployed, a lot of our economies. So you come to the United States with that identity. But when you are living in your country, in your Muslim Arab country, you are just another Arab. You are just another Muslim. Here, your identity is what identify you. You are not just another Arab. You are the representative of your identity, your Arab and Muslim identity here in the United States. So that part of you becomes even stronger. you double up on who you are. Because you are not a white American, you are not a black American, you are a Muslim Arab. And unfortunately, you were tricked. Your real Arab Muslim identity was stolen from you in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and it was replaced by a new identity that is based on hating Israel and sometimes hating Jews. Like just as simple as that. So when you are coming to challenge the question of Israel, you are surprised that the reaction is so strong. It is strong because the person you are talking to feel threatened, because you are not questioning Israel and the existence of Israel. You are questioning his existence, his identity, everything he grew up believing. So when you say review the way you see Israel, what the person is hearing is change your identity. What we need to do is to educate our brothers and sisters in the Middle East that their real identity was stolen and you need to reclaim it. And it's not based on hating Israel.
Right.
Our religion, how come that the book, our holy book, and I haven't found someone in the Muslim world to answer this question. Our holy book mentions the Holy Land 36 times. All of it, it's in relation to Banu Israel, the children of Israel. There is not one time the Quran says that land belongs to Muslims. It always said that it belongs to Banu Israel. It was promised for Banu Israel. And we ignore that. And we're building a parallel identity, a parallel religious identity that is based on Jew hatred and Israel hatred, because it served for a long time, it served our leaders' political gains, internationally and domestically.
Right. So what I'm hearing is another impasse. The reason is this political gain and the lethargy of the Muslim world to step up. That's why I'm deeply grieved that how much can a little state, 99% of the land belongs to the Arabs there, and they're just fighting for this little spot, and then all the narratives surrounding it is very hurtful as Muslims of conscience. That is why we speak up. Yes, thank you. And I want to go to Daniel because time is running short. You are facing this every day on campus. You're a professor on campus. So my question is on language and narratives that is building this particular standstill and the impasse. How much has language damaged relationships? Because I see words like Zionism, genocide, resistance, occupation. These words carry enormous weight. And do you think for the Jewish students, the language itself has become a barrier? And for the Muslim students, the language has become a weapon?
Yeah, listen, I've stopped even answering the question when somebody asks me, am I a Zionist? Because there's so many different things that they can mean implicit in that question. So usually if a student, whether or not they're Jewish or not, or if I think they're pro-Israel or not, right, that's all aside. If somebody asks me, hey, are you a Zionist? I first ask, what exactly do you mean by that question, right? Are you talking about the definition of Zionism on TikTok? Or do you mean that I'm signing on the dotted line of everything the Israeli government has done since 1948? Do you mean that I generally support a Jewish homeland and it's, in the indigenous Jewish place, right? So I do think that language has been a big barrier. And then I think on the other side, we've seen language and definitions weaponized against the Jewish community. I mean, nobody can seem to give a precise definition of genocide anymore, right? It seems that the definition of genocide has been malleable enough to fit anything that Israel happens to be doing at any time, right? So I've even seen academic articles arguing that there is, cultural genocide, right? So it counts as genocide because Israel is targeting certain cultural centers throughout the West Bank, so it's technically okay to say that Israel is committing genocide in the West Bank, right? If that becomes true, then language is just some game that we're redefining everything as we go, and then we can't even have conversation because we don't agree on anything, right? We don't agree on the definition of Zionism. We don't agree on the definition of Judaism. We don't agree on the definition of genocide or occupation or colonialism, right? If words have meaning, which they do, right? It's impossible to have conversation without words that we agree on, right? I think that this is responsible for, again, some of the dysfunction. I don't think it's responsible for all of it. I still do think that there are a lot of nefarious forces out there, and we haven't mentioned, I think, much of the money that foreign governments are sowing into this propaganda war. And it's not just the Islamic countries such as Iran and Qatar, right? They've, of course, been a part of this geopolitically as well, but it's China, it's Russia, right? These countries have a lot of incentive to be sowing as much misinformation in the West as possible, right? Not all of this happens to do with Israel-Palestine, right? Even if you look at reports from the 2020 election, right? We know that there were troll farms being funded by the Russian government that were attempting to create both far-right and far-left-wing accounts and pit neighbors against each other because, again, liberalism is difficult, right? If we want to live in a 21st century liberal society, that means having conversation instead of yelling at each other or punching each other in the face or trying to elect a government that deports or arrests everybody that you don't like, right? Liberalism has never been easy. And Russia and China and all these other countries, right? Liberalism is a threat to their governmental order. So they have an incentive to sow as much hatred in between, whatever communities we talk about in America, in this case, the Islamic and Jewish community. And so much of this is also coming from, foreign propaganda as well. But again, I keep coming back to, again, maybe this is, just my training as a rabbi and less a political activist and more of, a historical minded, both in Jewish tradition and the academic history. I do think a lot of this starts with understanding history of both Judaism and Jewish tradition and also Islamic and Muslim tradition. I mean, I teach medieval Jewish philosophy every year at UC Irvine, and the students are always shocked that essentially every great medieval Jewish thinker came from an Islamic land, because the Jews that were in France and Germany in the Middle Ages were getting pummeled by the Crusades and then eventually blood libels and then being blamed for the Black Plague and then being blamed whenever wells would dry up. And the history of Jews in the Ashkenazi world is quite awful. The history of Jews in the Islamic world, right? It's not perfect, right? They were still treated as second-class citizens and dhimmis, but at least being a dhimmi meant that you had some legal protection, right? You weren't just able to be completely kicked out or massacred in most, right? Not all Islamic lands throughout the medieval period. And so I think, not just for the good of the Jewish community, I think for the global Muslim community, right? They have to be able to return to this medieval tradition. We spoke about this when you were on my podcast, that, in the 11th, 12th, and 13th century, right, all of the great thinkers and theorists were either Jews in the Islamic world or Muslims in the Islamic world, right? They were responsible for the Western tradition of Aristotle and Plato and Plotinus. They were responsible for algebra. They, much of the things that we value today ran right from the Greco-Roman / Jewish world through the medieval Islamic tradition, and then it hopped over to Europe because, sadly, the Islamic reaction to much of modernity, right, has been one of rejection. I think Israel is just sort of part of this, right? So, I don't think Israel would solve the whole problem, but I think in many ways Israel is representative of this wider problem of the rejection of modernity and Westernism and liberalism. And I think on the flip side, the countries that will prosper in the next, 10, 20, 30 years will be the countries that, again, generally want to ally themselves with Israel in the West.
Thank you, Daniel. Michelle, there's trauma and grief on both sides. Anti-normalization pressures, breakdown of trust, it's pervasive. So what I'm wondering, what your thoughts are on, is this about the conflict overseas after October 7th, or is it something deeper happening here in America?
No, well, of course it's something deeper happening. I mean, that might have added fuel to the fire that there was already a fire. There was already so much bubbling under the surface. I mean, End Jew Hatred was around pre-10/7. We were outside of CUNY and Columbia pre-10/7 when, CUNY law platform Nerdine Kiswani. Nerdine Kiswani has been on our radar for the past 6 years since she threatened to light a ex-IDF soldier. A student was wearing a sweatshirt with Israeli Defense Force logo on it, and she threatened to light it on fire, and nothing happened to her, and she ended up being platformed at CUNY Law's graduation commencement ceremony. So pre-post, absolutely, these tensions way predate, but it was all bubbling more under the surface, and not many people knew as much as many of us were shouting from the rooftops. So, where we are now, things came out more, and I'm sure, Rabbi Daniel can speak to UC Irvine before 10/7, or whatnot. Things were going on there. They're just now the haters are emboldened. The haters have also been taught to frame things with a narrative that can buy over even those that have good hearts. By feeding lies to make people, students, or, just impressionable individuals think that they're erring on the side of good by painting Israel as the oppressor, oppressor versus oppressed. So we see these lies being fed. I found it very interesting, Alia and Mustafa, how you both said that you grew up essentially being brainwashed in school. So that is, your two countries did that. Thankfully, you were deprogrammed, whether it was, after being programmed, you were deprogrammed. But right now, this fight that we're fighting, both in K-12 and universities right here in the US, is extremely dangerous, because that is coming in, both through foreign influence and not just foreign influence, right here under our noses. I mean, I live here in New York. What we see going on right now is disastrous and should frighten anybody, regardless of whether you're, you vote for left, right, or anywhere in between. What's happening is a disaster, and we have no choice but to, really form these allyships with everyone that is like-minded to unite against hate. So, the one hopeful silver lining here is that people like you, Soraya, Alia, Mustafa, that you show up, that we're even talking about this, is a huge step in the right direction with people listening. Because end of the day, we care about our families. I have 4 children. I care about my children being brought up in a world that is not just, a result of this downward trajectory that we're seeing right now. So I think that's what gives me, hope, and seeing this allyship in practice hopefully coming to fruition, through both our, all of our joint work and campus fellowships. I think the campus piece is huge. I think having students on campus that aren't Jewish, standing by the Jewish individual sides to fight this fight, and vice versa, obviously, is huge. And I think that's where we'll see, actual movement. Obviously, we also have the Lawfare Project side, so that's the legal fight. Lawyers on the ground, to really make that institutional change in the courtroom. But speaking, from the civil rights lens, social pressure lens, this is where we really, really need each other to make a difference and make change.
I think we'll be remiss if we don't talk about New York, because anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, it's become the hub. I was told, Michelle, that in the recent elections, District 7, 10, and 13, I think, had 1 million Jewish residents, but less than 100,000 voted.
It was sadly that which is very interesting, because it is beyond alarming. What happened is a disaster, that these 3 DSA members, I call them DIA, not even Democrat Socialists of America, Democrat Islamists of America. I mean, to see at their, victory speeches that people are shouting river to the sea and free Palestine and talking about the genocide in Israel at a New York victory speech makes no sense, yet makes so much sense. But anyway, point being, when you look at the numbers, people did not come out to vote. And it's frightening. And it's that classic example of people not being awake until it's too late. So we need to, at this point, really just rally the troops, again, this has nothing to do with Judaism, frankly, and Jewish people. Rally, the Muslims, Catholics, everybody, to realize where we're going. When you hear one of the candidates, who is going to win her district, A, has no experience, B, has said she wanted to wipe her hands with an American flag in the past. C, I mean, this is horrific, both rhetoric and behavior. So what is to come when that's one? Another one, Brad Lander, his views are just out there and ridiculous. Valdez, same situation, just in terms of horrific anti-American rhetoric. They are getting voted in because they're grassroots mobilizers, and they got people out. Not a lot of people, but enough people that the other side did not get out. So it was, a frightening learning experience. Hopefully not too late, but we need to see, what transpires in the future. But anyway, I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but I do think that, because I know California isn't immune either. Similar situation that, for mayor, there's a candidate that definitely embraces views that are not consistent with Western ideology. So anyway, here we are. But we have to be loud.
Yeah, this hatred is so pervasive. A group of us, Anila, Ali, Amvak, and all of us, we had a small event to bring Muslims and Jewish conversation, dialogue, breaking bread, we call it.
Yes.
Council on American Islamic Relations. I said Council of Anti-Islamic Relations. They condemned it. And the Shura Council, the body that has to really tell us and guide us on religion, they condemned it. So we are at a very low ebb here, and a few of us are trying to raise the bar. And I think, as I quite well identified, collectively coming together is very critical at this time.
Absolutely.
Yes. Is Alia there? Alia, I don't know. I know what we're saying sounds very hopeless, but if you were asked to give one or two practical steps to improve Jewish-Muslim relations, what would that be if you're there?
I don't know if Alia had to jump off. I don't see her here, right?
I don't see her either, yes. So I'll be remiss. We are almost to the close. The agreement prepared by President Trump had 5 goals, stop active fighting and stabilize humanitarian conditions, ensure Gaza no longer functions as a military threat, replace Hamas governance with a civilian administration, rebuild Gaza economically and physically, and a long-term peace framework was what the president put forward. And I can't understand, why the diaspora Palestinians don't come and offer solutions. Instead, they want to keep saying free Palestine. So if you had a message for the diaspora Palestinians, Michelle and Rabbi Daniel, what would it be? And if you, Mustafa, had a message to the Israel and the government of Israel, what would your message be to see that this peace plan works? I will get Michelle to go first. What is your message to the diaspora Palestinians in terms of what the president has proposed? What do they need to take ownership? What would be your message?
Listen, they do need to take ownership. It's just such a tricky question because there's the diaspora Palestinians, but unfortunately they're being brainwashed by extremism. So, what my message I would take a step back and first try to deprogram them, because there's no getting through to them as they are right now. There's nothing that we could say. Again, Rabbi Daniel, I'll turn this to you. If there's something that you can think that can be said to these people with the way things stand now and what they're being spoon-fed, I take a step back and I think it's more important to first get down to the crux of what they're being fed and try to get through to them on that level. And that's the next step. But Rabbi, go ahead.
No, of course. I mean, ideology, I think, is the most important. And when you have, groups like, of course, Iran and Iranian-backed proxies that are attempting to sow the narrative with everything I said before in terms of, much of the misinformation campaign, it's almost impossible to even have that conversation. I mean, on campus, there's this thing called anti-normalization, which when the encampment was around at UC Irvine, I'm both the rabbi for Hillel and I was also teaching a political science class right outside of the encampment. That's where my class happened to be. And every day I would walk through it, oftentimes with a group of students, and I would always try to engage the students that were handing out flyers, and oftentimes it would go like this. I would be in a conversation with a student from the encampment, and then somebody else from the encampment who I guess realized who I was would run up to them, whisper something in their ear, and then they would say, sorry, I have to go. Or they would, not even say, I have to go. They would just turn their back and walk away. So the conversation isn't even happening, right? We aren't even at that level yet. The one irony that I will say is some of the best conversations that I think we've been able to have on campus are actually from Palestinians that are from places like East Jerusalem. And so, right, not that they're pro-Israel by any sense of the imagination, but they actually are aware enough about the nuances and complexity to not come in with just the full ideologic rage that we actually get from, either far left progressive students or a lot of Muslim students that, whose families are from, wherever, pick your favorite place. And so there actually is a certain type of conversation that's able to be had. And I think somebody said before that it's easier in Islamic countries to talk about this than it is in the West, in places like Europe and America. And I think, my experience living in, Jerusalem also, is, not that things are perfect in Jerusalem by any stretch of the imagination, but there actually is a lot more conversation that's happening between Jews and Muslims in places like Jerusalem, because again, at the end of the day, if you're living in your neighbors, it's practical necessity, right? You go to the supermarket in Israel and, the person next to you might be Muslim. You go to the hospital and you might have a Muslim nurse or doctor, right? So there actually is a lot more conversation happening there than there is on campus, where things are so siloed between the two groups. So my message would be that this rejectionism over the last 100 plus years just hasn't worked, right? So even if ideologically they think they're right, which of course they do, right? Just from a practical standpoint, right? If they want things to be better for Palestinians moving forward, something has to change, because this idea of thinking that this is the French in Algeria, which is the playbook that the Palestinians have been playing by, which for people that aren't familiar, the Algerians just threw as much as they could at the French government, and eventually the French said, this colonial project isn't worth it, and they left, right? This idea that that's going to be Israel and the Jews are all going to self-deport to, Poland or, some other place, right? That's obviously a delusion. So put ideology aside, just practically, if we want, the future young Palestinians growing up either in Gaza or East Jerusalem or the West Bank to just have a great life, right? To do everything that, one would hope for, for a young person starting their life, right? Practically, they have to start with conversation.
Thank you so much. So to Mustafa, the agreement we know has been signed. Hamas is refusing full disarmament. Israeli security concerns prevail. Who governs Gaza is not determined, and most of the Arab states are quite reluctant to come forward. What would your message be to Israel, the state of Israel? Because all governments need also to be held accountable. What can it do better to advance Trump's vision?
Well, my advocacy for Israel and its right to exist and its right to defend itself doesn't stop me from criticizing the Israeli government, of course. And I can't say that I've been happy with everything that the current Israeli government has been doing and saying, to be precise. We have heard some very either racist or comments from members of the government. I believe that those comments hurts Israel first and the Israelis, and it hurts Jews around the world. It hurts Jews here in America and in Europe who have to answer questions the next morning and defend themselves and defend their loyalty to Israel. And it also hurts the legitimate or the right of Israel to defend itself after October 7th. I believe that Israelis are at a crossroad right now, and they have to choose. For us Arabs in the region who support Israel, we don't support it just to support it. We support it because we have our reason, and the reason why, or part of the reason why, is that we admire what the Jews were able to build in the Middle East, and we wish that one day we will build something similar. I'm talking about democracy. I'm talking about liberalism. I'm talking about democratic institutions. We have seen it being done. It's done, and we are inspired to do the same. Israelis are at crossroad right now because the October 7th should not let them give up on these institutions, on these values, democratic values, Western values, Jewish values. It's not an excuse to be lenient on saving and protecting their democracy and their democratic institution. So I believe that the next elections in Israel need to produce a government that can work with friends in the region, because Israel does have friends. And Israelis does have friends in the region, and we need a government that those friends can work with.
Thank you so much. As last question, Michelle, if Jews and Muslims fail to rebuild, what do we risk? And if we succeed, what will we create? If we fail, what do we risk? If we succeed, what do we create? Same question.
If we fail, okay, I mean, very simply, if we fail, we risk everything. We risk our future. We risk everything that we're seeing now, just amplifying. Right now, we all see, I think everyone here can agree, that the direction we are heading in is extremely treacherous and frightening. So I think if we fail to somehow, some way unite, and shout out, I think Oren saw my last name is Achdut, which means unity in Hebrew, so very fitting last name. We must unite, that's number one. And I think if we succeed, it's going to take a long time to succeed, but we have no choice but to work on succeeding. And succeeding, we will then see change, not change instantly, but change, whether it's change then working together, for instance, on delving into curriculum in K-12, working together on delving into the ideology that's, just really seeping into our students on college campuses. Because working together, we will get, much more accomplished and much more done than working in silos and working against each other. So,
wow, Michelle, you give me hope. Thank you. Rabbi Daniel, what will we risk if we don't build trust, rebuild trust, or what will we succeed what will we create if we succeed?
Yeah, I mean, hard to disagree with that, Michelle, there, so I'll sign on everything. I mean, I think, liberalism in general, I mean, we very much in the West take liberalism for granted. Liberalism is one of the, most unique, crazy experiments, to ever, the idea that we don't just resort to violence when we disagree with each other on politics and religion and questions of value is a very modern idea, right? That, no government before 1800s, and even in the 1800s, the governments that produced liberalism were not, doing it perfectly. And so this entire edifice of everything that we value in terms of freedom of speech, feminism, freedom of religion, freedom to criticize the government, freedom to criticize the media, right? This is all only contained in liberalism, and liberalism is only as good as the ideologies operating within liberalism. And I think that, we've already seen life become much more dangerous for Jews in places in Western Europe, right? It'd be very hard to, tell Jews to stay in France and England and Belgium and places like that, right? And we do see many Jews moving to Israel from those places over the last couple of years. This is actually another one of the ironies that I always point out is that anti-Semitism that's, in the garb of anti-Zionism in the West just causes Jews to become more fervent Zionists, right? I think this is also one thing that the anti-Israel crowd hasn't figured out yet, right? The more anti-Semitism there is in Brooklyn, the more Jews in Brooklyn will move to Israel and become fervent right-wing Zionists, right? And so if, we want life to be better for Palestinians, right, the way to do it is not to terrorize Jews living in Brooklyn, right? That should be, quite obvious, but sadly it isn't. And so really, I think, the whole edifice of liberalism in the future and what kind of society that we're going to live in hangs in the balance. And, like so many cases in, Jewish history, the way that Jews are treated in a society, I think, is very indicative of the direction that society is going. And so I'm hoping in 5, 10, 15 years, there'll be, thousands of people on Zoom calls like this, and we'll fill, auditoriums and stadiums. And, this is only the beginning of, a huge movement in both the, Jewish-Islamic relation community that, we're going to be looking back in, 50 years and think, oh my goodness, this was, the beginning of this huge uptick of, interfaith dialogue.
All right, thank you so much. Mustafa, what do we risk if we don't rebuild trust? And what will we create if we do?
I'm going to be very brief. I think Albert Einstein defined stupidity as doing the same thing and waiting for a different result. If we keep doing the same mistake that we are doing, if we can't reach out to the other and rebuild that trust, we're going to still have the same thing. We're going to have another October 7, maybe in 20 years, in 30 years. We're going to have another Gaza war, maybe not in Gaza, somewhere else. But we're going to lose lives. We're going to lose the next generation. And what we will gain a better future, of course. We will gain a better environment for our children and grandchildren. We will gain peace. We will gain communities that work together, that defend each other. We will gain ourselves. We will gain our values. There is everything to gain, and there is also everything to lose if we can't rebuild that trust.
Yeah, Thank you so much. So I want to, in closing, I want to make a point to the 1999 document that was written. And I'm just hoping we can go back to that, where in the least, we come together to talk regularly over important issues and to immediately and publicly repudiate any group or institution that appeals to prejudice, stereotyping, hate, or violence. Surely, this is not too much to ask. Let's work towards that. And I want to finish with this story. We are at a time, a critical juncture, and I'm reminded of this story where a man is learning to be a lifeguard, and his teacher is teaching him. It's the third week in training, and at some point on that particular day, the teacher has to leave to go to the restroom, and at that minute, a child is drowning. Can the lifeguard on training, he can't afford to say, well, I'm not finished my class. Well, I don't know what to do. Well, I have to wait till the instructor come back. We don't have that luxury. So I want us to leave with that particular message in our hearts and minds that every one of us, we have to do something. And I encourage and invite you to stay in touch, and we will move forward together. Thank you so much to my dear panelists who have sacrificed their time, and to the participants. I don't think we have time for questions, but if you do, please type them in. I'll be here for a little longer, and I will excuse the panel if you have to.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Soraya. Thank you so much for putting this together. And thank you for all your work.
Again, yes. Okay, everyone, have a great day. Oh, are there any questions, Dofa?
I do
Thank
have
you.
a question.
Thank you, Soraya.
Of course. Oh, thank you so much for being here.
Soraya, I put some questions in the chat. I'm a writer with Pens for Swords, and most of my work is creating allyships and connections with different communities. I apologize, I don't have my camera on, but I just came back from the hospital today, and I'm not feeling up to being on camera. But my first question was, I want to know how I can get more involved with the Muslim community. I have been writing letters to Imam Juma, who's in Harlem, and Anila Ali, because I know of their wonderful work. And I'm going to the Kufi Summit next week. And I want to know, is there a summit for Muslims, or to get to unite with Jews, or a multi-faith summit that we can create that can bring all these people from different faiths together with like minds and really create ideas, not just complain, but to create ideas of how to push back against the propaganda and the mind hatred that the radicals in this country are doing.
Yes. Ellen, that is such a great vision you have. Let's do that in DC, where the news happens, and invite political leaders and, to ask for them to take concrete action, because without political supportability, you can't get to the next level. In terms of your question about the conference, yes, Anila Ali is leading a conference, the American Muslim Multi-Faith Women's Empowerment Council. Is a fabulous conference on anti-Semitism and hate happening in DC. I put the website there, all the information is there. You should attend. Where are you calling from, Ellen?
I'm in New York.
Oh, okay. It's a 3-hour train ride. Yes, you should attend that. You will meet.
I'm actually driving down to the Kufi conference. So
when is that?
It starts July 5th and it's to the 7th.
Okay, in DC. In DC?
It's at the Gaylord Convention Center. I think it's considered someplace in the harbor, the inner harbor.
Okay, in DC, huh?
Yeah, I try to do as much as I can to create this. Like I got involved. I know about this group Sharaka.
Yes.
Which is an amazing group. I found out about it through Imam Juma, and I actually wrote to them and thanked them. But I feel like thank you letters are nice, but I want to take, it has to be taken to the next level.
So, Ellen, we marched at the first the first time Muslims marched at the Israel Day Parade the last month.
I know, I was there too.
So there was a woman who reached out from Staten Island and she said, let's do another interfaith women's march. Like mothers, are you seeing the Mothers Walk where Palestinian and Jewish women are marching together? They started in Paris. So
I think I did see that, yes.
I think visual solidarity is very important. And as you live in New York, we have some people in New York. Perhaps we could organize a march in the Bronx. Bring mothers and women, and even to this day, they say the greatest source of hope is women and mothers. So we don't want to exclude our brothers in this, but we can plan something. If you are keen, I could add you to that group. We are still talking, and my friend Elana is also one of the organizers. She lives in what's that place where there's a lot of Bangladeshi people. What is that area in New York?
It's not Richmond Hill, is it?
No. It's like Jefferson or something, but it's not. A lot of South Asians are there in that area. But can you put do you want to hear more from us on this plan? Okay.
You want me to put my email in the chat?
Yes, please.
I'm going to do that right now. Thank you so much. This excites me. I'm so
Ellen, when I do my workshops and all of that, we don't hope for 100,000 people to say yes. One person too is a treat, is a gift. So I'm going to take a picture.
Yeah, I just want to say I found you because I'm on the collaboration chat.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Fine, Norman. Okay, I'm going to befriend you then. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to jump off.
Yes.
But thank you so much for responding to my questions. I really appreciate it. And I appreciated this whole thing. It was great.
We are strong together, and we have powerful voices who are interrupting the hatred. So stay hopeful, and we'll all participate in the change.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you.